What is up, guys, and welcome to the episode number 2 of the Next Level Esports Podcast, the number 1 podcast about esports coaching and team development to help you and your team reach that next level by getting the people side of esports right. Today, I have the pleasure to talk with Urszula Klimczak, where we will talk about her experiences as a performance coach within esports and specifically working with the staff of the teams she has supported so far. Urszula is the current performance coach of Counter Logic Gaming, CLG. She is the owner of Mindflex Coaching, and from there, she supports both the players and the managers with the right tools to achieve peak performance. She previously worked with big names like Fnatic, ROCCAT, Origen, TSM, Gamers Origin, and we did different titles like League of Legends, Valorant, FIFA, CSGO, and as well even work with poker players and streamers. It feels like we are about to dive into a fountain of knowledge, so I'm super thrilled to have you on today's episode. How are you doing today, Ula?
I'm super good. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's awesome to have you. I followed you for quite a while on Twitter and also your interaction with teams. So it is a blast to talk with you one on one now and to let's say get some golden nuggets outside of your mind to spread the word about some more knowledge for other esports coaches, staff, and anyone that is interested in development. So I'm really looking forward to this episode. So to start off, there are so many things that the listeners want to know, and I try to get as much information out of you in 4 to 5 minutes. So let's immediately dive deep. Let's start with something that I've heard you say in another podcast, and that strikes home with me as well personally. And that is from a young age, you were analyzing personalities, behavior, because I think that has a lot to do with the things that you're doing today, being a behavior analyst as well, next to the performance coaching. So can you tell a little about your whole background and especially about that point of like your natural talents?
So it actually my talents about reading people, they've been with me from the very beginning. Like I started noticing that I can really well read people in my high school. So I had this kind of a nose for people with whom to hang out, with whom I was keeping a distance, and I was actually capable of opening up every single person in my class, or even in not my class. People were just coming to me telling me a lot of different stuff, the life stories, and I was always a kind of a person that people were trying to hang out with. And it was probably because I had that patience to listen, but I also had that um if there was an issue, I wasn't leaving people just with their issues. I was always trying to help them out to solve some of the stuff.
Right.
And that goes with me through my studies, and also through my career in business too. So during my studies, I started studies with actually my English philology. Then I dived into psycholinguistics, and then as of that I went into the managerial business psychology.
Right.
And that was actually a fountain of knowledge. But at the same time, I was working in an environment that was selling online studies all over the world. And I was a manager of two sales teams. I had like around 36 people under me. But this company was such an amazing place to work with, because they were providing the employers with all the stuff they had available for the students. So we could actually learn everything there. We had lots of trainings, we got lots of courses, and we could actually, dig as deep as we wanted to into whatever subject was interesting for us. Good stuff for me was that I was really close to recruitment in that company, and I've been recruiting many employees. Um, you could probably go above like 100, or something like that.
Mhm.
And most of those employees that I've been hiring, they've been staying with the company for a really long period of time, and they've been developed very well. That is why my career was just kind of speeding up, because those natural talents and the ability to read people was constantly there. So and my curiosity in people too. So whenever I was in the interview, whenever I was like developing one of my employees, I was never kind of focusing only on work, but I was always like really curious, like, so what are the reason you're not performing? What's keeping you busy? What's in your head?
Exactly.
And that started kind of giving me a lot of energy and a lot of satisfaction from the job too. So I guess, you're just born with it, that you have that curiosity in the people and you like hanging out with them basically.
Yeah, it's so intriguing, and I really correlate, let's say, with the story with it. When I look at people, and perhaps you as well, what I hear, you're just like looking at like a picture of how they will behave in a certain situation, and try to really go, let's say, not to make assumptions, but you have like these images in your head or something that you feel like, oh, if I would have them in this type of environment, or I would react with
Yeah.
them in that way, and you basically can see it happening before it's actually happening. And
Absolutely. And the same is on stage when I see my players on stage or even like different teams on stage when I'm just looking at them and I know which team will actually lose because it's all written in their faces, whether they're afraid, whether there's a disagreement inside of the team, whether they're not trusting each other. It is all written on their faces, but it's also written in their moves, like how they approach themselves, whether they are hugging themselves, whether there's a relationship, whether they're smiling even. So there's like so much stuff you can read from people without interacting with them, that I know straight away, once I'm hooping into the team, what is the issue. And the research I'm doing with the players before I start any work, before I start any workshops, it's just usually either like confirming my first thoughts about the team, and it's also kind of
mm,
giving a like specific reason why, for example, there is no trust in a team, why there is a conflict between a team and a coach, or team and a manager, or like whatever the situation is. So these are all the issues that I know that there is an issue, but without interacting closer with the team, like I'm not a mind reader too. So,
it's
so
true.
so I need the knowledge too. But the thing is that those first moments that that the team is struggling with something, it's on their faces. So yeah. The same as with employees I used to work with. So, when somebody was coming into the office, I saw that the person was sad, like was lacking of energy, not eating as he used to, not behaving as he used to, not like out of the routines he used to have.
Mm,
Then I
right.
just knew like something is wrong, basically.
Yeah, and I really find that interesting. And what you're saying is because when I look at esports, and perhaps you as well, around the esports scene, I see a lot of people thinking that esports is played with the head and with their hands. And they forget about the rest of the body, how they sit, how they behave. Are they engaged? Are they sitting forward, or are they
Yeah,
slouching? Are
exactly.
they having their eyes wide open? And all those micro expressions of the body, basically, they tell so and so much. Uh,
Yeah, it's
on the
super
other hand,
important.
but on the other hand, um, you work, let's say, with the professional teams, like the top dogs of the esports industry, with gaming houses, and but let's say for some people that are listening, how would you catch up such behaviors outside, perhaps as a coach or maybe someone, to get a more feel of it? I always say, like, if you got webcams, let's say if you're somewhat serious, put on the webcam and just see each other, what the body language is, so you get a more feel of each. What is your view of that? How can you balance, or what are the differences or maybe correlation between the professional level and maybe more, yeah, semi-pro level or amateur level, to also use some things what you're saying about the body intelligence, the micro expressions? How can you get a sense of it?
It's a really difficult question because I would say that if you have the ability to like remember people and match the people with the names, it's the same with if you remember the micro expression, you know what they mean. So I
Mm,
don't think that there is like a lot of stuff that coaches can learn, and this is not the level of knowledge they need, I would say, to be good at their job. They should have people around them that will be supporting with them to tell them, hey, look at this guy, he's like really miserable today, or he's not as usual.
mm,
So what I think the coaches should do to be better at the job, especially if it comes to recognizing that something is not clicking, is to have a specific routines and be like very mindful about what your players like doing, what are the habits, what is the preparation they're having. And if
exactly.
all of a sudden something is out of the pattern, So we're looking for trends, we're looking for differences. And if something happens just like that, then it means that something is not right. And this is the moment that you need to dive deeper, speak with the person. The longer you wait, and like you see that there is an issue with the player, but you wait and you wait until it solves itself, not necessarily, because usually it's growing. So the longer you wait for something to, let's say, remove itself from the way of performance, so the player is not performing, but you just wait, maybe it will go with time, maybe it will, I don't know, disappear, or, and I don't know, like magic will happen. It will not. It will just
No,
pile up, and then
exactly.
it will explode in your face, literally, in the moment that you just don't want.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. So what you're saying is people are creatures of habit, so they have, let's say, their own pattern, and you know what they are like in certain types of contexts and situations.
Yeah.
And if you see or analyze those patterns, and you get to know them, and let's say after a few weeks you see or feel like something is off,
Mhm.
then you can investigate it more further. So you have to look for
Absolutely. It's good.
behavior patterns.
Yeah, it's good to take that person one on one. Say, hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you going to the gym lately, or I haven't seen you eating that much as you used to, or like you're
Mm,
drinking something else. Like, are you okay? Like, this is the moment to start. Or even if you have a player that is like very vocal in the discussions, like post game, and then all of a sudden the player is silent. Like
right.
that's the must reaction. Like you need to react straight away, because it's either a conflict, it's either a trust issue, or it could be a personal reason too. So coaches should not only, especially head coaches, should
Mm,
not only look at the players how they play the game. They should look how the players behave in the training, in the scrum, outside of the scrum, whether they're bonding, whether they're coming back home together as a group, or whether everyone is going their own direction, because this is also a signal, or whether there are like mini groups, four people are going home one direction and one person is going on their own. So those are the little things that you need to be able to spot, and these are the little signals that every head coach or coach should look into the team, because this is the beginning of something that may break a team basically.
yeah, for sure. So also, you, I try to, let's say, summarize it in my own words, and let's say maybe
Mhm.
package it. So what you're saying is, um, they are people coaches first, and then coaches of the game second, basically, because you're working with human beings, you're working with the patterns, like everything, the
Mhm.
behaviors. And if you got that right, let's say as a basis, then you can move further towards the game and the in-game aspects, etc., to move left, right, rotations,
Um,
etc. Or
I
how do you
wouldn't
view
put
that?
I wouldn't put first and second.
Okay.
I don't like labeling stuff like that, because I feel that if we are a team, we are in this together. So like the hierarchy, that doesn't matter. Like I'm more important than you are, or something like that. It's equally important. This is one thing, and the second thing, performance coaching is prevention. And
Right.
many coaches, many teams, many organizations don't understand that performance coaching is prevention. So we don't want something to happen. That is why we have people like myself inside of the team to prevent the bad stuff from happening. 9 out of the 10 teams I've been into, they're like, asking me for help, for advice or something, because there's already a fire inside of the team. That fire could have been
Exactly.
prevented. So it's already too late. So there are like many organizations right now in the esports scene that, the teams are struggling. The teams are trying to kind of, get back on track, but still the coaches, the staff, the managers, they're not skilled enough to spot what is the issue inside of the team. And without having a person that is able to read the behaviors, that is the person that is able to read, like, what's wrong with the trust, with the relationship, and so on. The coach could be the best in the skill macro game or something,
Mm, right.
but if he lacks of people skills, and let's be honest, most of the coaches that are right now in the League of Legends, for example, or CSGO or Valorant, they're very introverted people. So they're also struggling a little bit with their individual emotions. So also being able to read other people's emotions, there's a lot of work to do. So, you can't be the best at everything. It's okay if a coach is focused purely on the team aspect, and it's even better for the organization if there is a person that can be focused on a human aspect. So, these are the stuff that are equally important. And I've noticed the trend that the more experienced the player or the coach, the more they value the aspect of human skills, like people skills in the esport world. The younger the player, the
Yeah.
less respectful he or she is for the skills outside of pure in-game skills, basically.
Yeah, it's also I understand, but I can imagine where they're coming from, because if you're, let's say, 17, 18 years old, you feel like, oh, there's so much about the game to discover, and you're so more focused on yourself and not, like, say, the team and the environment. You just want to be you and play your best game ever. And the more you mature, the more you realize, like, I
Absolutely.
cannot win the game alone. Like, I need my teammates, I need to feel healthy, I need to feel happy, they need to feel happy, and then all those things are matching together through experience, hardships, conflicts, all these types of things.
I always ask my players when I start coaching with them, what's the purpose of this game? And they're always asking, looking at me like in a weird way. It's like, so what, you don't know that? And I'm asking like, yeah, but what's the purpose? Like, what's the main condition to get into the game? And they're like, yeah, you need to, win this, do that, get into the enemy nexus or something. Like, how do you do that? Yeah, we need to as a team, Okay, you
Ah.
have the word as a team. So why are you playing this game individually? So there are lots of those little aspects that they are fully aware, but it's kind of hidden inside them, and they are sometimes stuck so much in their mindset that I can win the game on my own, that without a proper fail, they just can't change it. It's stronger than than they are, basically.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like, I think I read it or heard it 2 weeks ago, that change is most effective when there is a crisis. Like, then are people willing to change when everything starts to crumble around them and the whole world is collapsing and the
Absolutely.
career is at the line. But they had the chance to, let's say, prevent it. What you're saying as a performance coach, or find people that work with them or work together with the teammates, but they have this particular, let's say, closed off mindset that they cannot evolve their own thinking or playing with others
Mhm.
further, and that
They
really
start
prevents
the
them.
players and the organizations, they start being humble when the things are falling apart. Before that, it's like impossible. Like even in the ROCCAT organization, when I was working with them a couple of years ago, uh, when I did my first approach towards this team, they were doing quite well. So that was not necessarily my best start, if I could call it like that. But then
Hmm.
after a couple of months, I got called by the team again, and they were like losing streak. There was like 0-7 or 0-6, something like
Yeah.
that. And that was the moment that I was like, okay, so I guess they're ready to accept some stuff to do.
Yeah,
They were
finally.
like sponge, like every single thing I was giving them
Help
was just like,
us.
yes, exactly. So that is true. Like there is this moment that when you're desperate, then you start respecting every single tool that you're giving. And I mean, yes, I very often when I speak with the teams, with the staff, with the players, I always tell them, I'm not a coach that will teach you your skill. I'm not a coach that will teach you how to, use specific macro inside of the game. I am the type of coach that is a roadmap. I'm your tool to
Right.
to teach you how to win in this particular setup of people, in this particular group of people. So I'll tell you who is the person that is vocalized, who should be the leader, who is the one that needs to be, who is, for example, um, has too many responsibilities on himself or herself. So I will just give the team balance to the way that they will all feel comfortable and they will all start clicking as a team.
All right.
So what I'm teaching them is how to win with this specific lineup they're in. And every
Yeah.
lineup is different. So it's not a copy paste material. It's something that I need to dive deeper. I need to recognize, get to know to them, and then I will just adjust whatever is inside of the team.
Yeah. So total agree there as well. And how do you, let's say, involve the coaches in such processes? Because it might seem now that you are deciding, or people could assume that you are deciding, oh, you should be a leader, you should be this, and etc., and that you're working as well with the players. But
Mhm.
how much of this process is also involvement of the staff, the coach, the managers, maybe
Mhm.
even the owner in this process to also support you? Because I also seen teams and worked with teams that the coaching staff, like, they don't really want to be helped, or they think they can do it alone, and then you are there and it's stuck, let's say, between
Of
two
course, there is like that.
two teams, right?
Absolutely.
So how does that work?
So if I can divide my work, the amount of work I do, I would say that around 65% of the work I do is the work with the staff,
Yes,
and 35 is the work with the players. Usually it starts from the top. I'm sorry to
always.
say that, but it's usually like that. There was a mistake at the very beginning. So either there was a conflict, or either like one of the players was not happy with something, or there was a situation that I don't know, like the players do not like lost the respect towards the staff. Like there must have been something that the teams kind of started, falling apart. So, so this is the first thing. So I would say my work with coaches, when I join the team, it's usually myself being a little bit aside, just looking at the team, the communication, how the teams is
Mm.
kind of going together,
You're a
and
faker, hide in
yeah,
bush.
exactly. But this is like a very critical knowledge for me because I see how they operate. And also in the first day when I'm with them, they're not really comfortable with me as well, too.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first day, it's usually that they are kind of being reserved and they're not as explosive as they usually are. They are really careful about the words they're using, during the
Sometimes
analysis.
looking
But
over the
yeah,
shoulder, like, oh, is she looking? Is she
exactly.
observing? What is
So
she
this
writing
is
down?
this is like, what does she want? What does she hear? But then, after like I usually, when I start working with team, I also try to, like, it's a must for me to speak with every single person that is involved before I arrive, so they know what I'm doing, why I'm there, and I don't want to press them very much at the start. But then after like having one full day of their scrims, I can grab a coach or a manager or the owner, as you said, and we just talk about stuff that um, I see that will be my priority focus. Um, I would say that there are two type of coaches I've met in my career,
Hmm, okay,
and there are
interesting.
those coaches that are very cooperative and appreciative, and their goal is pure. We want to win as a team, and this is like the best type of coaches that there are. And there are those type of coaches, like the second type, that they approach everything like me, myself, and I'm the owner of the success, and nobody's going to tell me how do I do, what should I do, and so on. So
Yeah,
before I even start working with the team, I need to do a lot of work with the coach to make him aware that it's a team effort. And if he is forcing his players to play a specific lineup, specific matchups, a
yeah,
specific champions, specific rotations, and so on. And the players are not comfortable with it because it's not their style. So imagine that you have, and I had that situation, you have a coach that is giving a leadership to the most introverted person in the team. And he is telling the player to call targets, for example, during the
yeah.
game when he is
Good luck.
shaking himself when he has to speak. Like, this is the biggest mistake that the coach can make. But then, all in all, when I'm kind of sitting with, like, I also can't be like right in the face and like say you're making a mistake, because if I
Yeah,
say that, they'll just build around the wall and I will go nowhere with whatever I'm trying to give them. So it's usually start with myself recognizing things, and I try to teach the coaches how to coach the team, many coaches are analyzing the games and by telling the players what to do. So it's
Yeah.
like they're putting the timers like, here there was a mistake, you shouldn't be doing this, you
Yeah.
should position yourself like this, like this. Then here there's a mistake, here there's a mistake. The players can't think independently inside of the game when the coaches are doing something like that. Plus, they are not the owners of the idea. So it's like
Okay.
they can't repeat something they don't remember, basically. But if there is a coaching style that they should be applying, so coaching means questioning, asking questions. So if you approach your team with stuff like, okay, so guys, look at the situation. What do you think went wrong? How do you think you should position yourself? How do you feel you should play this situation? Then when they're in the Rift or in the, I don't know, like on the CS map or Valorant map, they will know exactly what to do because
Right.
they came up with the idea. That was
Exactly.
their idea. They are the owners and they will remember it. So the coaches that are, I would say, control freaks a little bit. These are the type of coaches that are very difficult to work with because um, they're very closed for uh, sharing a relationship, even because they feel that I will come to the team and I will tell the team, okay, as of today, you need to be trusting each other, and they'll be just trusting each other. Well, they
Yeah.
will
I
not
want to
unless,
win. I
yeah,
want to win
or
is
you should
yeah.
start winning.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't work like that. If you don't trust your coach and if you don't feel comfortable with the coach and with the team and with the situation, I need to find a reason and fix it. And it's not just like that, it's usually a process. Change is a process. It starts with, denying, then anger, then exploring, and it goes to success, right? So
Mm.
acceptance. So it's same in here. I need to recognize, give feedback, then they are denying the feedback, then they are kind of recognizing the feedback, then they're applying it, and then they finally there is a success. It all depends on the team. With some of the teams it can last 2 days, for some of the teams it can be 4 weeks. It
Yeah.
all depends on how independent they are and how capable of individual thinking they are. And the same is with the coaches. Very often the
And
coach.
then you mean if they are individual,
Mhm.
the process goes faster than being, let's say, hive mind and let's say they need each other. What would you say is then the
No, it
fastest?
goes like it doesn't matter on that style. It all
Okay.
matters about the people. Like if the people are very rebellious and they're very negative and they're, as you said, maybe not desperate, they will not apply as fast as they
Yeah.
should. But if the people are mature and they understand what performance coaching is, what is trust inside of the team, what are the specific aspects that I'm bringing into the table, and they know what I'm talking about, then it's usually 1 or 2 days, like tweaks, and it's done.
Yeah. 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 I can recognize that a lot. Some teams, like you can help them almost within one workshop or like a couple of sessions or just like one thing that has to click in order to, let's say, spark that
Absolutely.
investment in towards each other to look further than only the game and make a connection towards a person. But sometimes it can take a couple of weeks before you see some progress, and yeah, that is something I believe as well that you need to have
Usually,
patience for.
I mean, usually if there is a fire on the team and I feel that there's one specific player that is not applying what I've learned or like what the workshop were about, or is like very rebellious or something, I would be probably insisting on benching that player, or if we have a replacement, I would
Yeah.
try to do it just to take this, just to give him a carrot on the stick. Once you apply it, you're
Yeah.
back. Because sometimes the players, especially the star players, they are sometimes very um, with the mindset, I know everything and nobody will be telling me
Yeah.
what to do.
They know
Um,
they are the star players.
of course, but the
Yeah.
star players also sometimes get into the loop of mistakes and they're also sometimes lost and they require help. But if you put that person aside and you tell them, hey, look at this team environment. And what's worse, if this environment starts clicking all of a sudden and starts performing all of a sudden, well, what's in your head? Actually, maybe I was the reason why they were not performing. So what they need? they need to change, and then they change just like that. So I'm not saying that it's
Right.
always good to bench every single player that is not listening. No, it all depends on the time. If we are on fire, we need fire, we need quick solutions. But if there is something that you have time for, then absolutely slow coaching is also very, very, very okay. And sometimes, the teams don't have funds, don't have budgets for the changes.
Yeah.
So what I need to do is kind of go a little bit deeper to the root, show them the direction and so on. So it's like, it all it's all about the team, but it's also all about coaches. So, if the coach has the person's trust and they know how to reach to this player, then it's absolutely fine. It's usually very workable. But if there's like no relationship between the players and the team, between the players and the coach and the manager, the person is toxic inside of that environment. And, toxic people are never successful. People that learn from each other, that are a unit, they are successful. But toxic players, maybe they're good individual games. Yes, sometimes it happens, but in the team environment, toxic players never survive.
Yeah. They all get filtered out basically over time
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
they get one chance and then redemption in another team, and then you see in a couple of months they are
Yes and
benched
no.
or
Actually, I've been doing many recruitments where, for the teams, like I was simply hired to do the recruitment process. And I was filtering the players, and I said, like, this guy is super toxic. Maybe his skills, maybe his everything, but don't take him because he is
right.
toxic. And then other team took this player, and then this team came back to me saying, actually, look at him. You were right. What we've heard from this team is like he's the most toxic person they've ever worked with. So,
Yeah.
filtering stuff like that is also super important. But, and again, to know that, to be able to spot that, you need experience, but you also need this kind of feeling what to ask, how to spot that behavior. And that goes with time too. Especially if you're new, you need to learn it. But if you're experienced, you know what questions to ask to get the right
Yeah.
answers.
What are let's say not to let's say get to all your secrets,
Mhm.
but what are some, let's say, tells about a player, or maybe if you want to reveal, that's up to you, but maybe one question that you use for coaches, because a lot of coaches do the recruitment process also on the semi professional scene, amateur scene, and there are a lot of players who think they are a grandmaster challenger, but when you see them in a team competitive environment, they totally fall off because they are so individually minded. So how do you filter those out? What are some tells or some things that can
um,
coaches, let's say, more so develop, or how to develop that sense, or what are some specific things?
so it all starts with what type of team do you want to recruit? What is the budget? Where do you want to go in? Like the first thing for the team is that they should have a goal for the next season. It's not that we're just recruiting for the sake of recruiting, but it needs to match the expectations from the environment. Like if the
Yes.
organization is telling the teams like, okay, we want to have a team that is reaching playoffs this season, then you're hiring such players. You grow talent. You don't need to invest that much money in it, but you just kind of make a lot of boom around developing players and making them star players, basically, and maybe selling them later on. If that is
Mhm.
the goal of the team, then we're recruiting that type of players.
I also hear a lot of commercial aspects in this involved. So it's also you
Absolutely.
talking with the team and knowing what
Yeah,
everyone wants out of it. So that's important.
absolutely.
Side
Absolutely.
note.
Absolutely. Like you can't be just hiring players and saying like, okay, I'm giving that budget, so I'm taking the top players to my team. Okay, but can you
Yeah.
manage them?
Yeah.
Can you
Right.
coach them? Are they
Right.
smarter than you, or you are the smarter guy?
Mm,
Like there
right.
is this old saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, change the room.
Yeah, you're in the
Yeah,
wrong
because you
room.
can't learn
Yeah.
anything there.
Exactly.
So that is the one thing that I should definitely coaches should consider. Like, what is the goal? And then according to the goal of this organization, like the worst goal that the organization can give themselves is winning. Like this is not a goal. Like let's agree.
Yeah. It's
Like
a
goal need to
result.
be, it's a result. Like goal needs to be set as a smart.
Mm.
Yeah. I always telling my players, winning is a feeling. Winning is in your head. If you feel winner, then you are winning. But if you can't feel the spark and winning, you just can't win anything.
Yeah.
But getting back to coaches,
Yeah.
Um, so they need to understand whom they need in the team. And to understand it, the best question to ask is, what is your motivation? Why are you actually playing, I don't know, like Valorant,
Mm,
CSGO? Like, what's the reason? If they got an answer, I just like winning. Okay, what does that sell? Now that tells you that this guy will be individualist inside of the team. He will not give a shit about the team crisis. He'll be just pushing, taking everything for himself, and he will just kind of, uh, be the independent individual nobody can trust. So you don't want
mm,
that. But if you have like questions like, I've been always like answers, I mean, I've been always kind of dreaming, or I won't prove my parents wrong that esport is not a bad environment,
mm,
or I had a players that, had motivation that they wanted to buy them something, something for themselves, like, even a piano. I had a player that he really wanted to help his parents to get, a new flat or something like that.
yeah,
So, there are lots of those motivational issues where we know that in esport there is a good financial reward if you're successful.
right,
But
for
in
sure.
order to do that, you need to have this motivation to do it. And in the crisis moment, when you work with the players or with the coaches, what is the main trigger? Your
Right.
motivation.
Right. So
Because
what you
when
just said is all external motivation triggers, like the money, the
absolutely,
parents,
I mean,
or winning. It's all outside of you. Like,
like, yeah, why you're doing what you're doing, sometimes, like the worst thing is like when somebody's saying like, I like winning or money. Like, these are the two aspects. Money you can get everywhere. Winning, well, what if you're losing? What are you doing there? You're demotivated, you're crying,
yeah,
or what? So, there are those answers that you need to consider. When this player will have a bad moment, do you know what you should be talking about with him, about
right.
his internal motivation, about the factor why is he doing what he's doing. I like also the players that are ex sport athletes, and they couldn't do sport anymore because of, like, I don't know, like they had injury or
Yes.
something. This competitive aspect is so big in them that it's like super awesome to speak with them about the motivation, because all of a sudden they open up, and then you see that, yes, this guy is having sparks in his eyes, and he just want to, use all this drive to succeed. And this is like, this is something that's really important. And also, what is another like good tip for the teams is to look at the social aspect of the player.
Hmm.
The
One
player that is
hundred
not
percent. 100
yeah,
percent.
the player that is not vocal, that is not social, is not, is only giving you the answers yes, no, and is having a skill. It's a it's a short
Yeah.
term, I don't know, like,
A fix only for the technical part, but
exactly.
not for long term,
No, you
because you
will
need the
not.
interpersonal skills as well to connect and engage within
Absolutely.
the team processes as well. So yeah, 100%.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so these are the two things that are very, very important. Of course, I'm looking into like different aspects to kind of get into their head during the interviews. But I guess for the knowledge of the coaches, I guess the most important part would be looking into the motivation and the social aspect. Like, these are the two things that should be critical in any recruitment discussion.
Yeah, 100%. So also from my experience, when there's a basically a red flag when I do interviews or also with the webcam, and I tell them like, hey, how is your connection with your parents, for example, or do you meet friends outside of let's say League of Legends or Counter Strike? How is it? How does your social life looks? And basically, yeah, I don't really have much friends, and that's okay, it can be, but it's something. And that you, just like what you said, you try really go deep and really be into basically
Yeah.
mentally in their face, like, okay, I want to know who you are, and you go deep and you dig. And oftentimes those people are as well within team environments that are lacking those social and interpersonal aspects. They fall off after a month or two because they cannot keep up with the social environment and everything else,
With
and that can
people.
be a huge
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what is, let's say, one biggest thing that staff or coaches should know as a basic? Because I believe in terms versus traditional sports, esports has a lot to catch up in terms of, let's say, the human knowledge and interpersonal skills and how to engage with the players. Also because of the different culture, what you already said, like, oh, they're more introverted coaches than the extroverted ones, so that's a different aspect as well. So, what will be, let's say, the core thing that if everyone would, let's say, get this overnight, what is
Mhm.
that one thing that you want them to have or want them to know?
I would definitely focus on something like that you can't be an expert in everything. Be humble.
Be
Um,
humble.
mhm. uh, Sometimes when I come to a team and I meet the coaches for the first time, uh, it's like, I'm a type of person that is watching the people a lot, and like
Yes.
even when they're on stage on tournaments or something, I see how they behave, how they're trying to control everyone. And then, once I'm coming into the team and I'm trying to help them, and instead of kind of opening up and trying to get the tools they've been given, they're trying to compete with me internally. So they're trying to teach me how should I do my job, what they know about the team, what they want me to do inside of the team.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, okay, if you're telling me what I should be doing in my team, why aren't you doing it yourself? So this kind of aspect of I sometimes need help too is like really important, because the worst case scenario is that you have I don't know, like a coach that is trying to be an expert in PR, in social media, in nutrition, in psychology, and at the same time also giving the players all the knowledge about the game, macro, and so on. Players would be
Right.
looking at such coach in the way that decide what you want to do. Either spend time
Right.
with us or start caring about all the stuff around that. So, when you have a tool, it's important to use it, but be humble that to the extent that we all need to learn. And when I'm getting into the team, I'm learning so much from the coaches and from the players, because like my knowledge on the game is average. So like if
Mm.
I get into like any gold or silver in any environment, I'm really happy about it. But my knowledge is crap. So when I'm there and I'm listening how they're talking about strategies, macro games, and so on, like I'm a sponge, I'm taking
Yeah.
everything I can.
Yes.
But on the other hand, when I have coaches that are actually, there, and they're like somehow disrespectful to their own team because the team wants to say something, because the team wants to make an impact on the game or be vocal about strategy or something, and the coach is saying, no, this is not the way I want you guys to play the game, then that type of coach is not understanding the main aspect of coaching, is not humble to the team, is not is not respecting his own or her own players basically. So
Right.
the more you want to dive deeper into your environment, to get to know, to get curious about the people that you're around, like you're surrounded with, the more you're doing it, um the more successful you'll be with your work basically. So first thing, be humble, and second thing, learn from each other. Like this is something, allow others to speak. Like don't be the control freak that is trying to kind of
Yeah.
have all hands everywhere. It's impossible to do it like that, and they will get through mental breakdown with such pace and with such type of work. So
Yeah,
yeah.
for yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Being humble, and that's also what in the last episode I believe Furn said about like being open, willing to learn, looking for take every little bit of perspective. You don't have to absorb it like fully,
Hmm.
but just like give them time to explain how they view the game or their opinion. You don't have to agree, but at least you understand their vision and you can work around it. You engage with them and you let's say give and share knowledge about just like how you perceive the world, let's say, in the
Of
fullest picture.
course, if you have a team of like 5 team players, when they're playing, in your face, basically. They're very aggressive. And you are trying to give them late game composition, and you want them to be like really passive till like minute 20 in the League of Legends.
Hmm.
Guess what will happen?
The
They will
opposite.
never apply, they will never learn it, and they'll be like disaster. So like, not adapting the coaching style to your team is one of the biggest mistakes that the coaches are
Yeah.
making. So
Yeah. So I mean, just like in my words, it is more like be the chameleon or be the support. You are in service of the team, and you are
mhm,
not the boss of the team.
yeah,
Let's say they
be a
are.
part of the
Yeah,
team, be a
yeah,
part of the team.
yeah, yeah. Equal, equal. Yeah, beautifully. So also, we're slowly going to the end of this podcast. I'm enjoying it so much. There's so much to talk about, but there is one question of the last coach that Furn, Josh Furno, asked for the next guest, and I told him it was a performance coach. So his question was, "What is the most impact in terms of team growth as viewed from your perspective as a performance coach? What is that singular thing that is underrated or the most impact in performance overall?"
I would go with work ethics, because this phrase hides in it lots of aspects
Hmm.
of how the players should behave. Work ethics is how you come prepared to the scrims. Did you have breakfast? Do you do sport? Do you care about your dopamine level? How many hours you play the game? Are you burning yourself out with playing 12 or 14 hours a day, and then you sleep for 6 or 5 hours?
Yeah.
Like, these are all the aspects, is that when you come into the training fully prepared and fully aware what your body is capable of in terms of performance. So you had a breakfast or a lunch, you've been in a gym, you've taken care about your social aspect, about your dopamine. So you do all this stuff as a regular
Yes.
employee, and then you come prepared, hyped, and hungry to play the game, hungry to start working. Then I guess that would be like the most important thing. And in the work ethics, there are lots of things covered, because there's like also nutrition, physio, there is sport, there is mental well-being, there's social aspect
Yes.
because of people around you. So all those stuff, they're really important. And what I really what I've noticed is that most of the players, um, they feel that when a performance coach is coming into the environment, um, that he or she will not allow me to play as much as I want. So we will be, the evil that is taking away their time in game.
Yeah.
The thing is that we are not taking away their time in the game. We're giving them time in the game, but we are giving them
Exactly.
quality time in the game, and we're preventing burning out. So when I see a player that is playing 16 hours a day, do you feel that after 6 months of playing 16 hours a day, this player will be still in a speed and will be in a speed and will be also as productive as at the beginning of the split to reach playoffs? Will the player would be
Exactly.
as effective during the players as at the beginning of the year? No, because he'll be burnt out. So that's the performance coaching. That is prevention. And that goes all into work ethics too. So I feel that once the players will understand what is work ethics and how important it is in their career to stay productive over a long period of time, not just to be like a one season star, but to be recognizable, to be on the stage for years. Like we have players like, I don't know, like Hillesong,
Mm.
Reckless. We've got lots of faces that are all the time on stage, because their work ethic is there. They're taking care of their social aspect of their life, of what they're doing. It's all because they want to be productive over years. We had many players that were just starting the career. They were overtraining themselves, and in the second split, they were just like totally, you know, in pieces. They couldn't pull the stuff together, and they were not useful. And if you're kind
Right.
of burning yourself out and it's your first split, no team will get you for the next split, because people remember your last split, your last efforts, not the beginning. Even if you had a fantastic beginning, it's not important how you start. It's important how you finish the game.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't really matter. Like it maybe give you some leeway if you were the star a couple of years ago, but the flame will eventually burn out. Literally, the
absolutely.
fire will burn out in that regard with it. So I really love the answer of having work ethic because it involves it's the umbrella, let's say, term of everything around performance. Consistency is what I'm hearing. Piece of discipline, also maintaining fun, healthy lifestyle. There's so much on it, and also seriousness, like taking your profession. I believe we can say professional players have a profession, being a competitive
Yeah, absolutely.
gamer. So
You know,
yeah, take it serious.
yeah, what players sometimes forget is that if they would be football players and if they would be on a football pitch for 12 hours a day, how long
Yeah,
they would be football players.
yeah,
They'll
destroyed.
just
They will be
they just don't feel the fatigue when you're sitting in the chair and having fun. But the
right.
fatigue is here.
Yeah,
So, even if you really, really, really want to perform and you're tired, mentally tired, you just can't. When you're physically tired, you sit down and relax. But when you're mentally tired, you're not focused, you're distracted, you're not in your intuitive mode. So you play on thinking, you're making lots of mistakes, you're trying hard, you blocked, you're afraid
right.
of making mistakes. This is not you, and this is the sign of burnout. And yeah, as you probably see, many teams are right now experiencing that. So
Yeah, they need more escalation, right? They
they
need
need
to destroy.
prevention. They need
That's what they
prevention.
need. That's what they need. But I believe what we discussed a couple of minutes before is they need a crisis situation that their
Yeah.
performance, just like I don't know what is happening within G2, also like with personalities, perks being away, right, leadership role, and all of that. But maybe there's something else going on that's maybe we don't know yet how that will evolve. But everyone is looking at G2 as well because they've been such a staple throughout the year. So yeah, that is really really important to look out. So
Yeah.
um, is there also one question that you want to ask? So the next guest, he is the opposite. He's a more so, let's say, beginner coach within the 1 year of experience. Is there something that you want to share with him or ask a question with to, let's say, stitch all the episodes together so he also gets a question for the next guest and so on? Domino effect. Is there something that you
Mhm.
feel like, yeah, this could be a triggering question for starting esports coach?
Yeah, I feel that I'll ask him a question. How should I frame it? Let me just phrase it well. How he would deal with trust issue from the team. So in
Mm,
the environment that he has experienced players and he's relatively young in the environment.
yes.
So how would he handle the trust issue from the team
Yeah.
towards him, of course, because he is not that experienced as his players probably.
Right. I believe that's a great question for any, because no matter where you start, you have to overcome trust and know how to build it in order to gain
Oh
all those other
yes,
things that you
but there
want to
are
do.
there are coaches that are dealing with it fantastically. So I'm really curious how he will answer
Yeah.
that, because I think that would be the most critical aspect in his work. If he gets experienced players to work with, he would need to realize that this can be an obstacle on his way to career. So
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, great question. Yeah, thank you so much, Ursula, for your time and all the answers. Like what I said before, I can talk for hours. It's so interesting, also from a different level of performance with the staff, more so in the center, and how that works, and what kind of tools they need, and what kind of skills they need in order to get the things, the successes that they want eventually. So, if any, let's say, listener or someone that's watching this on YouTube has more follow up questions or just want to share how they like the video or something to get in contact with you, what are your social media channels? You can
yeah, hit me
promote
up with
yourself.
Zyret, double R, definitely my DM is open. Also, I'm Zared on Facebook. Feel free, hit me with whatever issues you have. If I'm capable of helping, I always try to help out. If not, then I'll just give a direction where to find the assistance. So, yeah, totally. Feel free, reach out to me, and I'll be as helpful as I can, of course.
Awesome.
I'm more
So
productive on Twitter than I'm on Facebook, and my Instagram is almost dead because I'm
yeah,
like,
esports, right? It's all Twitter.
it's on Twitter,
It's
yeah,
all
and
Twitter.
I'm not also the type of person that is like very, I don't know, like I don't like being everywhere. So probably just focus on my Twitter. That's the best way to reach me, basically.
All right, Twitter it is. So all the links will be down in the description below, and for sure to check Twitter and also follow, of
Absolutely.
course, Ursula. So thank you so much for sharing some huge scoops of knowledge. And that is it, guys, for the second episode of the Next Level Esports Podcast, the number one podcast for esports coaches and team development to help you and your team reach that next level by getting the people side of esports right. If you like this episode, let us know and spread the word. Smash that like and share and subscribe button. Tell your friends and family because there are some knowledge bombs by Urszula Klimczak, current performance coach of Counter Logic Gaming. If you want more information or things to learn, you can go to the Next Level Esports Discord channel or go to Next Level Esports YouTube channel for more content. Find us as well on Twitter at next lower dash L lower dash esports. And once again, let us know what you think of the episode. Thank you so much, Ursula, as a guest of the podcast. It was a true blessing. And for everyone that is listening, I hope that you are also tuned in for the next podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.